Okay, right. Well, here we are again. We are back. This is the We Quit Booze Brothers, which is a podcast where we try to have no fluff, honest conversations about our various experiences of quitting alcohol. And with me, as always, is my brother Matt. Hello, Matt.
Good evening, Mark. Yes, we are here. We are here to talk about our stories and the reality of what it's like to quit alcohol and, a lot of the things we went through, and hope that this channel, podcast, however you're listening, watching, helps you. It's something we do as a personal thing. And, we are very grateful for those people who watch and listen. So, got some, as always, I like to think, good topics for this evening. So without further ado, I shall hand back to you, Mark, and you can
Yeah. Thanks for that, Matt.
drop the subjects in.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, ironically, we are going to talk a little bit about, as a few things really. We want to talk about the impact that alcohol has on your health, and which is ironic, really, because I feel a bit like death warmed up at the moment with a really bad cold, and I think it was not so long ago that I had COVID. So, but trust me, this doesn't undermine the subject matter that we're going to discuss, even if I'm sniffling a little bit. But yeah, I want to talk about the impact that alcohol has. Just took some of the subjects around health, mental health, and a little bit on how it can impact your career, actually, that sort of, mental health, and how you perform professionally. So as has been the case for the last few weeks, I'm taking my references from the book Man Gets Sober, which is, in case anybody doesn't know, or if you're new to this podcast, this is a book that Matt has published recently and is available on, you can just Google it and you'll be able to find
Yeah,
it.
you'll find it.
Yeah. But the great thing about the book is that for this podcast is it gives us tons of material to reference. And I'm just going to start with, so I've read, obviously, as in preparation for this podcast, I reread these chapters and, make notes as I go through. And you start the subject of health, actually, and we talk a little bit about our grandmother who died some years ago, but rather sort of amusingly, I suppose, for us, probably not for her. She was famous for lots of things, but one other thing she was quite famous for was farting.
Sure.
If farting was an Olympic event, she'd win a gold medal.
She would have been right up
No
there at
doubt.
Paris 2024.
Yeah, and you talk about it in your book, and you say that when you were drinking, you too weren't shy of. I won't go into too much detail in case anybody's eating their dinner or this is a family show, but your guts, let's just say, led a lot to be desired in all shapes and sizes. As a man who has had the misfortune to follow you into the bathroom on occasion, I can fully attest to the fact that it wasn't good. It was not.
I know.
um,
How do we deal with this one? It's
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
not often I discuss, but
No, exactly. So, but at the time when you were drinking, you managed to convince yourself that this was a hereditary condition because grandma had it. Therefore, it just been passed on. And what was interesting was it's a funny story and it's quite a sort of good sort of contextualized insight into you and your background and all of that. And it's a nice sort of footnote, I think, to this chapter. But the note that I made is just the isn't it classic, the excuses that we're able to find for ailments? And you talk about here, you said that the problem that you debunked it because as soon as you stop drinking, that just cleared up and you're a
yeah,
very healthy, regular, don't need to go into any detail, but
no.
everything works as it should do and isn't absolutely horrific, which it was before. So it's everything goes wrong when you drink. And I remember, funny enough, there's something I used to get, and you got it too. And I never knew what it was, but I used to get this weird pain in my hip or my side after a really big night's drinking. And of course, it could be all manner of things. It could be kidney related, it could be joint related. And it was a really bad, disconcerting pain, but I would always just sort of brush it off as, maybe as playing football or, just, whatever. And yeah, I suppose that's my point, long-winded point as such as it is that, we make these ongoing excuses for the shit that happens when you drink with your health. And if you want any solid proof that it is just bullshit, stop drinking, because guess what? All of those problems go away.
Yeah, no, it's completely true in my opinion. Yeah, so um, I'm not going to discuss the toilet scene of Train Spotting, but you know, and hopefully that won't conjure an image that's too bad for you. But no, I'll be honest, I was convinced for quite a long time I had like IBS or something. I thought, oh, it must be something like that, irritable bowel system. I think that's what it is.
Syndrome.
Syndrome. Thank you. And I was 100% convinced that it was hereditary. It was like my grandmother. She bless her soul. She struggled with her bowels, and that's what it must be. And it could be nothing to do with the drink. And I had loose bowel movements. Almost every day, and that, as I now know, is not normal. And it was 100% down to the drink. I mean, the reality is you're putting this poison in your body, and it does things to you. The pain that you had, I used to get that on my side, and I can't explain it. I think was it. I know the liver doesn't have any pain receptors in it, so it can't be that. But I was thinking the same thing. Is it kidneys? Is it? And then occasionally it used to, like, my stomach used to sort of make a grumbling noise, and it used to be a bit of relief almost. It was, but you think about that now. I think about it now, and it's like, that was not right. That's not right. That's not. No one else. Normal people go, "Oh, did you ever get that pain in your side?" Or
Mm.
Um, so those were the big ones, and another one, I'd love to know if any listeners, watchers out there have the same thing, but indigestion. I didn't get it like that often, but when I did, honestly, I thought that a couple of times I thought I was having a heart attack. I mean, there was one time when I genuinely was probably, I don't know, 2 minutes from picking up the phone and phoning the emergency services, because I was convinced, I was absolutely convinced that I was having the beginning of a heart attack. And it often used to be a Sunday night. I would get into bed, and I'd lie down and I'd feel it coming. I'd think, oh, bloody hell. And I'd know that I'd be in for at least an hour of really quite major discomfort. I mean, bad indigestion, for anyone who's had it, is not nice. It really isn't pleasant. I would drink milk. I would sit upright for like half an hour, and then hope it would go away, and it eventually did. But since I stopped drinking, I haven't had irritable bowels, or not. Everyone gets sick from time to time, but that's gone away. I don't get indigestion anymore. I think I've had it like once or twice, but do you know what? It's been something like a feeling that's lasted about 4 minutes, and then it's
Yeah,
gone away.
that's interesting you say that, because heartburn, indigestion was something that I think I used to get as well when I drank. And I never, or rarely get it now. I have had it a couple of times, and it's quite often it's just after if I've eaten a
Yeah,
big heavy meal quite close to bedtime.
yeah,
I get it, but it lasts a short period of time. Whereas, yeah, and just if you think about that as well, just the consumption of antacids, like the sort of swigging, the Pepto-Bismol, or I think in the UK they call them Rennie, the sort of tablets, the chalky tablets that you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
My best friend used to literally rattle with those things. He'd be carrying around, literally pocketfuls of those, because he was convinced, like you, that he was going to die of a heart attack from, as a result of the chronic heartburn that he got as a result of
Yeah.
indigestion.
And he was, at the time, a big drinker.
Drinking like a fish. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
big. He's another one who has quit and
yeah, yeah.
suffers from them. So, yeah, and it's so, and just the list of things that that it affects. I mean, we've covered this before, but first of all, it's just worth reminding everybody that it's a number one. It's a highly addictive substance. It's now categorized as a Group 1 carcinogen. It's a psychoactive substance, so it will alter your brain chemistry, which we'll touch on the mental health, the sort of impact of the, it really messes with your serotonin and fucks with your dopamine, which causes anxiety and depression and, mood swings. So all that, you get all that for the bargain as
Mm.
well. But big contributor to heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, liver disease, cancer of the breast, cancer of the mouth, cancer of the throat, cancer of the esophagus, cancer of the liver, cancer of the colon, jaundice, and death by any of the above. But as you put in your note, who gives a shit, right? As long as we can carry on drinking. And it's just sometimes these podcasts and these conversations, maybe we're not telling anybody anything new, but it's just a case of, let's just not keep kidding ourselves that this is in any way, shape, or form good for you. There is no,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't hear that thing about, I used to drink red wine because I read that, drinking red wine was good for you.
yeah.
This is utter bollocks.
No, and you cling on to any glimmer of hope that it might be okay. I mean, I used to convince myself that, um, I drink quite a lot of water the when I wake up because I'm dehydrated, so that's probably flushing everything out. So I'm probably okay. I was the typical red wine drinker. That was my tipple. But no matter how you dress it up, drinking a bottle of red wine a day or more on the weekends or is not a good thing to do. And it's the reality is whatever alcohol it is, it can be crystal champagne, it can be a Romani Conti red wine, it can be a can of high strength cheap supermarket lager. It's the same thing. It's ethanol. That is the alcohol in it. It does the same thing. There's no better alcohol. People, you
Mhm.
kid yourself. I
Mhm.
did for years. Oh, I drink good quality wine, or I can afford to buy this nice drink. It's the same. You look down on people. That guy there who's walking around the streets with his can of 10% lager or whatever it is, and oh, look at him, sort of thing. Yeah, I was doing exactly the same thing, just on a
Mhm.
different price budget, and
Yeah.
it's nonsense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The alcohol that's in the 2.99 can of special brew high, alcohol content lager is exactly the same alcohol that is in the $2,000 bottle of, expensive vintage wine.
Mm,
It's exactly the same
exactly.
thing. So, and just yeah, and moving on from that. So one of the other big issues that just massively impacted by alcohol, of course, is how it affects your sleep. And we've
Yeah.
on this before as well, how the importance that sleep plays in our overall physical and mental health. There's so many. I mean, the reason fundamentally why human beings sleep in the first place is because it's the body's natural process to repair, to rejuvenate, to reset, to recalibrate. It's a
Clean.
fundamental and essential part of the sort of holistic health of a person. And just as chance will have it, I do some work with a accountancy firm, and the CEO of that firm, we had their end of year presentation last Thursday, and he showed me he's got this new app called Whoosh. I think it's called Whoosh. Uh,
Mm,
I'll share the screen. I'll share the screenshot on the video on the YouTube video. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, you might have to go and check it out on YouTube. But he's not a big drinker. He will drink
yeah.
maximum two or three glasses of wine, two or three beers.
Mm,
He's an accountant. He's a classic accountant. He's just a very regular guy who will have the occasional one. And he showed me the screen. He said, "Look at this." He said, "This is a week." He said, "I there's 2 days this week where I had some alcohol, not a lot, but I had some
mm,
alcohol." And I'll show you the graph. If you look at the recovery, so i.e. the value of recovery that you got from sleep. So the Whoosh app itself, it's a wearable band. It monitors the quality of your sleep and
mm,
provides information and data surrounding the quality, length, etc. of sleep. And on the graph, you can see really clearly that there were two where, and he just said, "Can you spot the days where I drank?" And there's just these two very obvious red bar graphs where, just a small amount of alcohol completely screwed with the recovery value of his sleep. He then showed me the REM quality. And REM, of course, is that critical part of sleep that really does do all the benefits. It's where all the reparation, all the sort of regeneration, all of that good stuff happens, and it absolutely fucks with your sleep. It kills your sleep. So not only is it just generically and inherently bad for you because it's
mm.
crap and it's poison, it's also beating the shit out of you because it's stopping you from the thing that you desperately need, probably more than anything when you're drinking, is recovery, replenishment, all the rest of it, and it gets in the way of that as well. And we've both talked a lot about the quality of sleep since we
Yeah.
quit, how amazing sleep is.
Yeah, it's a real big one. It changes everything. Now I look forward to going to sleep. I look forward to just reading a few pages of a book and going to sleep. And the other one for me as well is the your ability to deal with sleep in all its I don't know how. So give you an example. I went away to Berlin a couple of weeks back, and I had to be up at 3:45 in the morning. Now that's that's the middle of the night basically. And I went to bed reasonably early. Probably didn't really get to sleep until about 11:30 because my son was excited and he was mucking around. Um, and yet 3:45 alarm goes off. Got to get up. Yeah, of course, I would have quite liked to stayed in bed for a bit longer, but get up, get going, had a coffee, got moving. It's obviously exciting because I was going away. Um, it's just not a problem. Not a problem. Yeah, I was a bit tired later on. I went to bed really early that night, in which was nice. But it just getting good sleep, getting correct sleep, I think is
Mm.
more to the point. Just makes such a difference. Something I wanted to ask you actually, so a question time between brothers here is the guy you spoke to. Did you talk about the fact that you no longer drank? Did that come up, or just interested?
Yeah, it did. It did. I mean, I think he knew anyway, but I mentioned it in the conversation, and so we ended up having a long conversation about health,
Mm,
well-being, and all the rest of it. And I said to him, one of the things that I noticed when I stopped drinking was the quality of sleep. It's absolute, it was an absolute game changer for me. In fact, just as a quick aside to that, I've mentioned it obviously because I'm a bloke and I have a cold, so I have to tell everybody that I've got. But it's been pretty nasty. I mean, it's been a bad. I mean, it's been on my chest, and it was a really really nasty cold. But even though it was bad, I've had it in the past when I was drinking. I've had really bad cold, and it's absolutely destroyed me. I've had to go to bed. I haven't been able
mm,
to function, and yes, look, it hasn't been pleasant, and I'd rather not have one. But I can tell that I'm stronger inwardly, if that
mm.
makes sense. I can sort of tell that my immune system is better equipped at, recovering from what I think has been quite a nasty virus. So it, you know, as with all of these things, you're not completely immune to a bad night's sleep. You're not completely immune to, aches and pains and ailments, but your underlying fortitude is so much more resilient
Yeah, yeah.
as a
I
result.
can remember a Christmas day actually, and I was coming down with like the flu. I didn't feel well really, but I remember just thinking I can't not drink. It's Christmas Day. It's like and I drank. I got drunk, and then the next day it was
Mm.
just my world was in tatters. I think I was ill for like 5 days.
Yeah,
That really ill where
yeah,
you
yeah,
actually just to think about getting and going to the toilet because you're
yeah,
shivering and it's
yeah,
awful.
yeah, yeah.
It just the control it has over you is just madness really. It's that's the thing for me.
Mm.
But yeah, so I made all the excuses under the book. I can assure you of that. I even had moments of um, not almost sort of mild panic attacks because I'd been hungover and I, had to go to work and been asked to do something, or
Mm.
just something I hadn't done, and then I remembered I hadn't done it, or even just that, you know, being a dick the night before, or just those
Yeah.
things that you think about, and then you just, your heart's palpitating, and yeah, God, I'm so
Well, that
pleased
that
I don't have to
that
deal with
brings
that
me
shit.
on to, yeah. I mean, that, yeah, I know, what a relief. That brings me on to the next part, which is obviously the mental health, and we've talked about this before. So, but just to summarize, if you are drinking, you will get anxiety, you will
Mm,
get mood swings, you'll get the blues, and I've had that you're talking about, that anxiety
mm,
where you are just so on the back foot when you're trying to deal with any sort of pressure or stress or difficult situation. And it's because basically, uh, alcohol it alters the neurotransmitters in your brain. It does it really fucks with your serotonin and
Mm,
dopamine, the release of serotonin and dopamine, and so you completely knock the system out of shape, and then the result of that is it leads to tiredness, it leads to depression, it leads to heightened anxiety. And one of the things I used to find, I think I've told you this before, but when I was drinking and I had a business, if I would walk into the boardroom and it was a particularly stressful time, if I'd been drinking that weekend, it was like the synapses weren't connecting properly. It was like I couldn't find the answers. I couldn't get the words. I couldn't be, I couldn't be the person I wanted to be. I couldn't be the leader I
mm,
wanted to be. And it really sort of screwed with me, which actually is a nice segue to the final part of this conversation that we wanted to have, which was ultimately how it does fuck your professional life, the whatever you do professionally, it really is impacted by alcohol. You
mm.
start your section on this, which was I thought was quite interesting. If I just find it quickly here, you said, yeah, you say, before I got sober, when I look back at my career, I hang my head in shame. Not due to the lack of achievement. I've always worked and had fairly good jobs. Nothing super incredible in terms of seniority, remuneration, or status. Well, I think that's been changing since you quit, of course.
100%.
Um, but I never really hated work. Always followed my dad's advice, which is go to work, da da da. But basically, what you're saying is that because of alcohol, you did it. If I had to summarize this, you say, you were doing it at 60, 70% rather than full tilt. You dreaded Monday mornings. You would clear if you were out boozing one night,
Yeah.
you would clear the decks the day after, or you would put meetings in the calendar that didn't really exist or whatever. Just clear the decks in order to make way for drinking. I mean, prioritize drinking rather than prioritizing progress professionally.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was 100% that. I was just a bang average employee. I was just fumbling along really. I had no aspirations, I had no desires. I had and this is we'll go into the mental health thing, I think, another time in more detail. But I had a pretty dismal view of myself, but that's fine. I could keep drinking. I could drink and hide that, put that to the back of my mind because it didn't matter. A glass of wine will sort that out, and I didn't hold myself in particularly high regard. And you know, that was a mental problem. I think I really didn't have any faith in myself, and I made no effort to change that. I made no. In fact, I went the other way. I embraced the let me use alcohol as a way to just ignore all that. And then, of course, it catches up with you. But no, I mean, I do look back in shame. I mean, I turned up to work hungover on many occasions, and I was, you're not effective. You're just not effective, and you're worried. I can remember thinking, oh God, pray nothing bad happens today. I'm feeling like crap, and nothing come up that's I remember one time, like, so we had some major issue, and I had to like orchestrate some team, and I was just inside. I was dying. It was just like, could someone just take this off my hands? I can't. This is awful. And like I say, I always went to work. I always turned up. I always, uh, you know, didn't do anything wrong or anything like that. But apart from maybe my rock bottom moment, but
Mm.
I just didn't. It didn't a career. It didn't really into my. It's just I just need to work because I need some money, and it's nice to get some money, and then I can buy a drink and I can enjoy my weekends. It was all about the weekends. The week for
Yeah,
me was just get
yeah,
it out of the
yeah,
way.
yeah,
I didn't do any
yeah,
active. I mean, I did run, but apart from that, it was just
yeah,
a shit show really. And now, what are we, nearly 6 years, I suppose, since I stopped. Yeah, everything's changed. Everything's
yeah,
changed. It's there's nothing that's even if I've done, even if things aren't great, yeah, at work, if something, a project's not going well or something's wrong, I can deal with it. It's no
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
There's
And
always a
the way you
solution.
feel about
I really believe
yourself,
that.
sorry to interrupt, but the way you feel about yourself has changed. I
It's
mean,
changed completely,
yeah,
completely. I
yeah,
feel worthy of myself. I
mm,
feel that
mm,
I am valued. I feel that I am So some a bit of a role model at work in certain areas. I feel that I've come on leaps and bounds. I've made so many good decisions. That's
Mm,
another thing. The decisions you make when you're drinking are frankly bloody awful.
mm,
Whereas when you stop, you make better decisions, you make calculated decisions. You can live with your decisions very easily because you know that that decision was made 100% sober. It was 100%, and even if it was maybe didn't go quite the way you wanted it, you can analyze it better. And yeah, it's just been an utter
yeah.
game
Yeah.
changer.
No, it is, mate. Right. I mean, the thing is, it's just endless. You could just, that's why we do this, because you've never ever
Mm,
run out of things to say about this topic. But I
yeah.
think, we've said
But
it
you
before.
used to suffer very badly, and I know that from the week after, the Monday morning thing. And I think you know I'm sure there must be many people out there going through what you did. I
Yeah,
know it hit
yeah,
you
it
hard.
was hell. It was hell. I mean, I'm not a morning person anyway. I've come to realize. I wish I was. I've tried to kid myself that I am, but I'm not. And I've managed to sort of find ways to deal with that now. But when I was drinking, sometimes the day would hit me like an overwhelming, terrifying wall of fear. I just was overwhelmed by it, and the alcohol just, yeah, just it made me, it gave me almost a fear of life after the alcohol. Once the alcohol
Mm.
had gone out of my system, I sort of returned to something resembling normal. But I do remember that frequently on a Monday morning when I knew I had a lot to deal with. I knew I had big meetings. I knew I had a lot of shit to try and sort out, and I just, oh fuck, it was terrifying. And that just goes. And of course we've said this before, that the one great decision to stop drinking alcohol leads to a whole myriad of other really good decisions
Yeah,
to
it's a
eat
domino effect.
better. You eat better, you educate yourself more, you structure your life in a way that's much more proactive and productive and aligned to the person that you want to be. You think about the person that you want to be. Life at the end of the day is a sort of succession of evolution of there's an ongoing evolution of who you are. You become the person that you are. You don't revert back to the person that you used to be. You continually evolve, and when you stop drinking, you just make tons of decisions, and you start to operate, and you build habits and routines and behaviors that effectively take you in a direction which is the most positive direction you could possibly find. Look, it's not all roses. There's going to be bumps along the way. That's life, but it makes a fuck of a lot of difference when you don't drink.
Brilliant. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I
Yeah,
think that's probably a good place to wrap it up today. It's
yeah,
the health thing is important, and you can put it off, you can ignore it, but stopping drinking has wonderful impacts on your physical and mental health that
yeah,
are
yeah.
just you know unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay, let's leave it there. That was a good conversation as always. Thanks everybody for listening, and as usual, do all the things if you can to help us try to, get this to as many people as we possibly can. And
Yeah,
as always, never quit quitting. Thanks very much for listening. That's it from me.
and yeah, that's it from me.
That's it from
Good
him.
night,
All
everyone.
right. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Bye.